Hello.
Hello.
Is it me and you so far?
Yeah, just what's your name?
Cora.
Oh, hi, Cora. Just had a whole bunch of people sign up, but nobody's online yet. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
just kind
I
of,
like different than your picture. Your hair is a lot longer now.
yeah. I've got a photo shoot coming up in, I think, December,
Oh,
beginning of
nice.
December.
Oh, nice.
So,
Do you live in Abbotsford or where do you live?
yes, I live in Abbotsford.
Oh, awesome.
Is that where you live?
No, I'm actually out at Harrison Mills. I used
Oh,
to live in Maple Ridge. I just moved out here in the spring.
so where is Harrison Mills?
Do you know where Hemlock Ski Hill is?
Okay, yeah.
It's just at the bottom of the road when you drive up
Ah,
there, just off Logan. Yeah, so past
oh,
the mission, about half
yeah.
an hour out. Yeah.
So kind of where you turn off to go up Hemlock, is that sort of?
Yep. Right on that road. Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
Just
haven't been out there for a few years. When I used to go out there, there weren't any houses or anything out there really.
Well, this we're in an RV community. It's been here for about 25 years.
Oh, well, it's probably
Yeah.
been about that before since
Oh,
I've been up there.
yeah.
I think they
Yeah,
might
so
have
it's
been
really
starting to
changed a
build
bit.
that when I was last out there.
Yeah, there's a golf course out here. I don't know how long the golf course has been here. Then there's another subdivision with houses in between the golf course and us.
Oh,
That's
cool.
fairly new. Yeah.
Wow.
So are you new
All
with
right.
Connect now? Or
Well, I've
I don't
kind
know.
of been,
Haven't seen you at any meetings.
I was in Story Academy. I'm doing the
Oh,
Story
okay.
Academy with
Yep.
Paul.
Nice. Yep.
And I don't really go to that many of the lunch meetings because it conflicts with another group that I meet with on Tuesdays. So
Okay.
it's kind of a hit and miss thing, but I do go to all the Story Academy things.
Oh, okay.
Um, we've got one coming up in November. I think it's, let's see, what date is it? On the 16th.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
Thursday, yeah. It's 7 stories to, they're going to give you an outline of the 7 different types of stories you can use towards your business.
Nice.
So it's kind of fun. Last month, Charmaine Hammond was there talking about sponsorships, how to get
Oh,
sponsorships for your business.
cool.
Do you have a business?
Yeah, yeah. I do accountability coaching, and then I'm also in a network marketing company.
Ah, cool. All right. Well, I guess we're not going to wait for anyone else to come
Yeah,
on.
see what happens.
They can join in or meet up with the recording. It'll be
Yeah, be recorded.
online for people to access.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, all right. So, time management. I'm just going to move your picture away because it's in my view.
Yeah, I know.
Um, take charge of your time with some easy time crunching strategies. Um, I love to be busy. Like, the busier I am, the happier I am. And I'm really good at fitting everything in. And it seems like oftentimes everything happens on the same day. I don't know if you find that, but
Always.
everyone has an event all on the same day and trying to fit them all in and fit the family in and everything else. I really enjoy that. So, um, oh shoot, now my computer is acting up. All right, why is it not doing that? Sorry, the technology. So, what is time management? Time management is the process of planning and exercising conscious control over where and what we spend our time on. All of us have the same amount of time. Nobody has more time or less time than anyone else. We all have the same amount of time. So, where we consciously decide to place our time is time management, basically. It's the process of time management. So we all have choice as to where we wish to spend our time. We may not be exercising conscious control over that all of the time, though. It's also about managing our commitments, so all the things that we're committed to doing, and choosing where we put our focus. Does that resonate with you at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Feel free to jump in whenever.
Okay.
So how do we manage our time? Well, first we have to know where we spend our time. We need to set clear goals and focus on what those goals are and have clarity around that. Set priorities. Use a planning tool of some sort, a calendar, a schedule. Get organized. I don't know, last month my topic was on getting organized by your learning style. So if you missed that, you have to watch the recording. And scheduling your time appropriately based on where you want your focus to be, what you want your goals to be, what your priorities are. Delegate and avoid procrastination. And manage your external time wasters. So really understanding where you're wasting your time. And experts talk about avoiding multitasking. At one time, multitasking was something that was supposed to be a really good thing. You know, often in job descriptions, they wanted people who were good at multitasking, but they've actually found in studies since then that multitasking actually is more of a time waster. You aren't as productive when you're multitasking. It doesn't mean that you can't work on multiple things at one time. It's just that you work on one thing and then you set that aside and then you work on something else and set that aside and work on something else so that your focus is on what you're working on as opposed to being spread between 3 or 4 things. Yep. So one thing I like to do with my clients is I give them a 24-hour clock. You basically, well, you have 2 24-hour clocks. So you start with one 24-hour clock and divide the clock into pie-shaped sections based on where you think you spend your day. So, you know, you could start with, you know, what time do you go to sleep at night? What time do you wake? And all the various things that you do in your day. And make the first clock based on what you think you do in a day. And then tomorrow, take a fresh 24-hour clock and actually plot out your day as the day unfolds to see where you're actually spending your time. And then compare the 2 clocks to see, you know, are you really spending your time where you think you're spending your time? And perhaps when you see the 2 together, it can give you a little bit of insight into where you might want to shift time. And if you're spending too much time doing one thing, can you, shift it to somewhere else where you'd like to spend more time? Just being really conscious of where your time is going. This can be really helpful to people because oftentimes we just go on the day and we don't really pay attention to what we're doing. So it's just a really helpful thing, and people like to color and draw and things. So it's kind of a fun thing to do. Mm-hmm. So setting goals. So you need to set clear goals. So what is it you really want to do? Specific goals. I'm sure you've probably heard of the SMART goals: specific, meaningful, action-oriented, results-focused, and timely. So being clear on what those goals are. Once you have those goals, you can always look at your tasks and see if they are in alignment with your goals. Is this something that's moving me towards my goal or not? Breaking goals down into manageable steps. Reviewing your progress. Celebrating and rewarding achievements. So really, when you hit those goals or you hit those steps within the goal, making sure to celebrate and, give yourself a bit of a reward, even if it's a pat on the back or a cup of tea or a walk around the block, taking time to really feel that you're making progress in your goals can really help to energize you and propel you towards the next steps. So what about your focus? Focus is clarity on what are the most important tasks that you want to get done. If you're overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that you need to do, the best thing to do is to break it down into smaller steps. So take a look at what the large goal is and then break it into incremental steps. and then start with just one of the steps. And as you're working on these steps, continue to ask yourself if this task is leading you towards your goal, or is it leading you away from your goal? So always keeping in line with your vision of what it is that you're going for. If you practice selecting priorities on a regular basis, after time it will become a habit. It's like anything, if you do it over and over again and repetitively, after a while you just do it without really thinking about doing it. And being able to select what your priorities are as opposed to things that you're just doing can really make a difference in where you're spending your time. And making lists. They say that the most productive people write lists. They list their activities, their tasks, their priorities, and their results. Having it written down and actually writing it out, not typing it onto a computer or whatever, the act of writing it out really helps to solidify it in your mind and in your presence. And you will really, as you're making your list and you're crossing things off the list or making note that you've completed those tasks, it really helps to encourage you and move you forward to the next step or to the next goal. It also keeps you on task when you have a list. If you are just winging it, you might tend to go a bit sideways than if you have it listed out as to what exactly you're wanting to get done. So when we talk about priorities, Brian Tracy has something that he calls the ABCDE of priorities. So you're going to make a list of all the things that you wish to get done, all of your goals that you have to do, your tasks. The A items, beside each thing, then you're going to go and you're going to categorize them as an A, B, C, D, or E. So the A things are things that you must do. These are tasks that have big consequences, potential to make a big difference in your business, in your relationships, whatever it is that you're working on. So these are your A topics. So you're going to write an A beside all of the tasks that you've listed that will have a big consequence. The B items are the things you should do. There's mild consequences to them. They're not as important as an A item, but they're things that should be done. However, you should never work on a B item until all of the A items are completed. So A items, things that you must do. B items, things that you should do. C items are things that would be nice to do, and really there's little or no consequences at all whether you do them or not. So they're, and again, if you haven't completed all your B items or your A items, you shouldn't be working on a C item. D items are things that you can delegate to others. If you were on my webinar last month on organization, we talked about checklists, and checklists can be really helpful for repeatable tasks. So things that are done on a regular basis. If you have some kind of a checklist or a guideline, you can easily delegate these things to others by giving them the checklist or giving them the guideline sheet or whatever it is. So those are D. So delegate as much as you can to someone else. That really helps you with your time management. And E are the things that you can eliminate as they have low or no value towards my goals. So when you're making your list, really start thinking about where they fit in with your priorities. If you end up having multiple things in the A categories, things that you must do, you can go back and you can mark them as A1, A2, A3, and you can put them in order of priority within the group that they're in. And don't go on to the one that until the one before it is completed. Always start with the number one priority. Complete it as much as you can. Sometimes you can only complete to a certain state and you're waiting for something else to finish it off. But if you're able to take all of your list every day and prioritize it like that, it can really help you to stay on task towards your goal and not get sidelined off doing things that you don't necessarily need to be doing, things that aren't really helping you towards your goal. And something else that is really helpful when you're making these lists, if you take 10 or 15 minutes at the end of each day and make a list of what you're going to do tomorrow and put it into priorities. What this does is when you get up tomorrow, you don't have to think about what am I going to do today? What are my priorities today? What are the tasks I need to do today? You've already got the list made and you can get up and get off and running with your tasks. You also, when you go to bed at night, because you've written these things down, you aren't going to be so likely as to have things running through your head trying to figure out, oh, what do I need to remember for tomorrow? Yes, I've got to do this or do that. You've written it down, so you're not going to forget about it. It's already written down there. It's already planned out. So most really successful people pre-plan the night before, sometimes, the coming week, however that works for you. But getting into a habit of doing that, once you start getting in the habit of doing that, it really doesn't take very much time. If you wait until you get up in the morning, you have a shower or get ready and have coffee and breakfast, and you're just, figuring things out, and then you're reading the paper, maybe you're doing the Sudoku, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed and you haven't got onto your list of what you're going to have to do for the day. So it's really helpful to have that list already planned before you get up. And schedule your time appropriately. So chunking things, grouping things together, things together to be tackled at once. So, instead of, if you're invoicing or whatever, set aside a certain time of the week to do invoicing and do all the invoices at one time and send them out. Or if you're going to be making calls, make all the calls, set them up to be done at the same time, so you're not piecing in and out of different tasks. If you group them all together, you'll find that you'll get more done quicker, and it'll just be easier to get in the flow of doing that particular task. And double duty. This is really helpful when you're planning or prepping ahead. Can you do 2-in-1 kind of thing? So, perhaps you have a similar schedule for Tuesdays and Thursdays every week. Can you plot out your calendar for Tuesday and Thursday for 2 weeks, maybe at the same time, instead of doing it each and every day? You may have similar things on the same days. When it comes to the inside your house, you can cook 2 meals in 1 meal and different things like that. We'll talk a little bit about that when we get on to further on in the webinar, but just really trying to see how you can group things together to do at once, or get 2 out of 1 instead of doing something today and then 3 days later doing the same thing again. If you can kind of do it all at the same time, you'll find it will really help to tighten up your time links. And checklists for repeatable tasks, things to delegate. So checklists are really, really helpful when there's things that have multiple steps that you do over and over again. Because if you have a checklist, you don't have to think, oh, did I remember to do this? What do I do next? It's just an easy thing to go down the checklist and see that everything's done. It's really helpful. You can, you can make a checklist for the year. If you have month-end procedures that you do, you can have one sheet and you can just have a check for each month when you've done it. It helps for things like paying GST and different bills that are due at certain times. If we have them on a checklist and we tick it off when we do it, we know that we've paid that bill or sent that money or whatever it is, and you're unlikely to have late payments or forgotten items. So that's just something that I find is really helpful. And using non-productive time productively. So things like when you're driving in the car, if you're taking transit, what can you be doing while you're really not doing anything? This is a really good time to listen to audiobooks or podcasts while commuting. If I'm cleaning the house or doing something like that, I'm listening to an audiobook at the same time or a podcast. And, when my daughter was young, we would spend time while we were driving to dance and back. We would practice her spelling words. I'd have a little sticky on the dash and I'd call out the words, and in the back seat she'd spell them out loud to me. And it was just a really good time to get that practice in without feeling like you were having to do homework. It was just using that time that you would normally just be sitting in the car doing nothing or listening to the radio and not really doing anything productive. So if you have books that you really like to listen to, or even audio webinars or podcasts, anything like that, listening to them in the car while you're driving it's a good use of time. Let's talk about procrastination. So procrastination, it's really a delayed decision. When we don't do something, we're just delaying the decision. And why are we delaying the decision? Maybe we have a lack of clarity about what it is that we want, or what it is that we're doing, or why we're doing it, or how we're going to do it. There's all kinds of reasons that we will delay a decision because we aren't sure of what we're doing. Oftentimes, it's a lack of clarity of how we're going to move forward and do whatever it is that we're going to do. We're unclear on what's important. We're overwhelmed by the task. Oftentimes, if there's something that's overwhelming to us, we find ways to not start it because we just are completely overwhelmed. So when we're overwhelmed, we can break it down into smaller steps. The number one thing is to get started, one step at a time. As you complete each step, it will motivate, inspire, and encourage you to continue on to the next steps. And oftentimes, when we're procrastinating on something, once we get started on it and we get doing it, we find that it really isn't as bad as we anticipated it to be. And, it'd be much easier or better to do something ahead of time than to be scrambling at the last minute to get it completed within the deadline because we were procrastinating to get it done. Create a clear future vision. So really getting clear on what it is that the end result is, and then getting started. Another thing that really can impact our time management are distractions. So things like voicemail and returning phone calls, and really, if we can set aside a certain time that we're going to listen to our voicemail or return calls or make calls instead of answering them as soon as we hear the phone buzzing. Technology has a way of really distracting us from our tasks. And when we're talking to someone, avoid the small talk. Stay focused on the reason for the call. So while you may be trying to build a relationship with a client, you need to be focused on what is the reason that you're making the call, what is the goal, what is the end result that you're hoping to get. So really avoiding the small talk. Standing up while you talk on the phone. You're more likely to keep the conversation brief if you're standing than if you're sitting. So really standing up, walking around. It also makes you feel more energized and more, I don't know what the word is, but it's just if you listen to yourself when you're sitting and talking, and then listen to yourself when you're standing and talking, you really have a more definitive way of speaking when you're standing and talking to someone on the phone than when you're sitting. Have you ever experienced that? Where did my arrow go? And if there's any action that needs to happen after the call, take it right away. Do it immediately. Complete that task, get it done, and put away. Set aside certain times of the day for receiving calls, and let people know when you're available to take the calls. You can put a message on your email to say that, I'm away from my desk right now and I will be answering emails at 11 and 4. And if you if you need to get a hold of me in an emergency, you can call this number or whatever. You can make a personal message on your email so people know that you're not ignoring them, but you do have set times. And people will be, once they know what your schedule is, they'll be more apt to be respectful of those times instead of expecting you to answer right away. And another way to save time is keeping your phone numbers near the phone. So really, this is for most things. If you put things away, if you keep things near where they're going to be used, you'll save time in looking for them or searching for them or going and getting them and coming back to where you are. So being able to, nowadays with smartphones, probably most of the phone numbers are in the smartphone already, but if you're using a desk phone and you have a phone list, keeping it near where that phone is can be really a good time saver. So I don't know what happened here, but something happened. The whole thing came on. So establish times when you're available for visits. Post them. Like if you work out of your house, you can post a sign on your office door so that your family and everybody knows when you're available to speak to them when you're working and when you're available for clients and not for family or just visitors. So you can, if somebody just shows up, you can tell them that you can't meet them right now, but schedule a visit when it's a more convenient time. If someone comes to the door, just stand up and have your meeting standing up at the door. When you're going to a meeting, know what the purpose of the meeting is in advance. Arrive on time and start and end the meeting on time. It's really helpful in a meeting to have an agenda and to stick to the agenda. Oftentimes meetings get off track because there's no agenda. And you'll end up leaving the meeting and find that we didn't even discuss what it was that we were supposed to be discussing in the meeting. So it's quite helpful to have the agenda and make sure that everyone who's in the meeting knows what's happening. Oh yes, talked about the agenda. Don't schedule meetings unless they're necessary and have a specific purpose or agenda. So, some businesses will have a regular meeting every Monday morning at 9. Don't have that regular Monday morning at 9 if there isn't a specific purpose to having that meeting. It's just time that you could be spend on doing something that is more towards your goal. Set a specific time to view and respond to your emails and to your mail, but make sure that you don't let it accumulate to the point where it gets too overwhelming to sort. So maybe twice a day you're going to check your email. And then when you do check your email, deal with it right away. Delete it, file it, whatever it is. Don't let the emails build up and build up. So you have, I've seen people that have hundreds and thousands of emails in their email inbox. That's just overwhelming. It's much better to set aside a couple times a day to go through the email and deal with each email as it comes. And if you're getting emails that you don't want, unsubscribe from them as you get them so that you're not continually getting your inbox filled up. Turn off the instant messaging features on email. So if you get notifications when you get an email, turn it off when you're working so that it's not distracting you from what it is that you're needing to be doing. Or if you're working on your computer and the messages come in on the top screen when you're working, that can be a big distraction. Try to handle each item once if possible. Practice options for dealing with clutter. So really looking at that email, handling it, deleting it, editing it, doing whatever. When you get mail, paper mail, or newspapers or whatever, sort it near a garbage or a recycle bin. So instantly, just keep the pieces of the mail that you need. All the envelopes and the flyer things and the brochures that come with things, put them in the recycle bin right away. Don't bring them to another part of the house with you. Just sort it out right away. And any mail that you have that you can deal with right away, deal with it right away. With your email, delete the junk email instantly from the electronic mailbox. Check your junk mail on a regular basis because sometimes things go in there that you're wanting to get that aren't really junk mail, but don't let it fill up because it can become quite overwhelming. And you can answer written messages by responding on the margins or the bottom of the paper as opposed to making a new letter. You can just write the notes right on the letter that you got. Having a master calendar. So each family member could have their own calendar, or you could use one calendar for the whole family, but make each person in the family responsible for putting their activities or things on the calendar, but also responsible for consulting it to see any potential conflicts. It can be a paper calendar, it can be a whiteboard, it can be a chalkboard, whatever it is. It's really good if everyone in the house knows to go look at the calendar to see what's going on. I keep a calendar in my kitchen cupboard inside the door, and it's been there for 40 years that I've been with my husband, and I see him going in there and looking on the calendar. So if he comes home and he doesn't know where I am, he goes and looks on the calendar to see where I am. And our daughter, she's a university student. She's 21, and she has a wipe-off board on the wall in front of her desk, and she writes her school hours and her work hours, and she stays at my mom's during the week and comes home on the weekends and one night during the week. And Dad's always checking her calendar, and if she hasn't updated it with her work schedule, he's stressed because he doesn't know, where's Sarah? What's she doing? But it's really helpful if everybody keeps that calendar up, because then you always know what everybody's doing, and you can see where there may be conflicts of time and where we can fit time in to be together when things work out. So that's really helpful. And create a central area for posting communications, reminders, announcements, whether it's a whiteboard or a chalkboard or on the fridge or wherever it is. If everyone in the household knows that this is where all the things are going to be posted, then, and you continually put things in the same place, they know to go there when they're not sure what's going on. So I have 5 options for handling information. So number one, trash it, delete it, or get rid of it. If you don't need it, get rid of it. Delegate it. Give it to somebody else to do. Act on it. Shred it, throw it away, or file it. So if it's something that you need to keep, file it. If it's something that you need to do something with, do whatever you need to do with it, and then file it, or shred it, or throw it away, or whatever it is that you need. If it's something that you can't complete all at once, you can file it in a temporary file until it needs action, or till you get more information so that you complete whatever it is. If it's something that needs action by a certain date, make sure that you put on your schedule in your calendar that on that date or the day before that this needs to be actioned. Otherwise, it may sit in that temporary file until you realize, oh, you forgot to do it or whatever. So it's really important that you put it into your schedule for whenever it needs the action. And file it permanently where you can easily find it later. So have some sort of a system where you, things that you need to keep for a period of time or permanently, or that you have a certain spot where you put those things and you're able to go get them and easily find them. When it comes to receipts, invoicing, and taxes, I really believe people should use a software system such as QuickBooks or Wave, and there's many other ones, that has an integrated app for your phone. Something that you, when you're out and about meeting clients or doing whatever outside of the home, you can enter it into your app and it will sync with your system on your computer so that you're not saving all these things. There's like with QuickBooks and Wave, you can scan your receipts right from your phone and it puts it right into your system on your computer. So you're not ending up at tax season, you know, with 2 Safeway bags full of receipts with the ink fading off of them. I have a client that I've helped a few times with this situation, but now she has the Wave app, so I'm hoping it's going to help her. And if you can send an invoice to somebody right away after you're finished working with them, it'll save you time because you've sent the invoice right away. It's integrated with your system at home on your computer, and it's not piling up for you to do sometime down the road to do that. So anything you can do right at the moment, quickly and seamlessly, is a real time saver. And if you don't want to do things on your phone at the time, at least set some time aside each week, once or twice each week, to stay up to date. Don't let it save up, because you can spend 5 minutes once a week scanning your receipts and sending your invoices, or maybe 15 minutes. Or in 6 months, you can spend 3 days sorting through everything and trying to catch up. So really, to spend the few minutes once a week to do that, it can be a real time saver and really save you a lot of stress. And discard or file away any receipts that are not related to your business. So if you have receipts that you don't need to keep for warranty purposes or whatever, and they're not part of your business, or they're not something that you're going to be writing off, get rid of it. Don't keep it. There's no reason to keep these things. You know, you might keep them in case you want to return something, but if it's, you know, if you went to the grocery store and bought groceries or something, once you get home and you start eating the food, you don't need the receipt. So get rid of it. Don't be saving it for 6 months till tax time. And keep an envelope or a file or a shoebox or something that you can keep all the receipts for gifts that you buy or household items with warranty. If you keep them all in one place, then when you need to find them for something, you can easily retrieve it. You're not looking all over the place. You know, where's the receipt for the printer that I bought? Oh, it's not by the printer. It's not here. If you have one place in your house where all of the receipts for things like that go, you're really able to find them. You're not wasting a lot of time trying to remember where you put it or what you did with it. At Christmas time, when I'm Christmas shopping, I keep an envelope in my purse. When I buy gifts, I put the receipt right into the envelope right away. I'll actually write on the receipt, oftentimes, who it was for. And then when Christmas is over, if people have to exchange or return things or whatever, I've got all the receipts in one place. And you know, I have family members who they don't do that, and then they can't return something because they can't find the receipt. So I just keep a regular envelope in my purse at Christmas time, and it makes it for a really easy way to do those exchanges and returns after Christmas. I mean, hopefully you don't have any, but if you do, it's helpful to be able to find the receipt easily. Tracking. So when you track what you're doing, it helps to really solidify what you're doing towards your goals. So people that keep track of what they're doing, if you made a list of how many calls per day you want to make, this is just an example. So how many calls do you want to make each day? And how many calls did you make each of those days? And what was the result? So keeping that list every day in your business, over time, you'll find that you'll be making more calls in the same amount of time. It's just, as you do it, the process becomes easier and it becomes more of a habit. And it's really seeing all these calls on the list that you've been making and the results that you're getting helps to energize you into making more calls. It's just a really interesting process. But a lot of people that do keep track of these things find that their business really increases by keeping track of these things. So try it out. And also, when you have this record of what you've done and what the results are, you have history, which allows you to plan for the future and forecast your profits and revenues for the future. And you're able to really make an actual plan of what you need to do to reach the goals that you want to make based on the history that you have recorded. And like attracts like, so that's probably why when you're recording all these things, it just attracts more of these same things to happen in your life. So let's talk about ways to save time at home. So food prep. I like to wash and cut up all the vegetables after I buy them. So they're already cut up and cleaned in the fridge. It makes for a really quick and easy way to make dinner when I'm in a hurry. I can just grab some vegetables, they're already done. I can throw them in the frying pan with some meat for a stir fry, add some rice, or put them in a stew or a soup. The kids, when they see cut up vegetables, they're more likely to grab a handful and eat those when they're already ready to go than eating something less healthy. And double duty for meals. So cooking a meal today and then a day or two later, take the leftovers and make it into some other meal. Like if I cook a roast on Sunday, then I might have, a couple days later, I might have salad and beef dips for dinner, or I'll make a shepherd's pie with the leftovers, or I might make meat pies out of them. I can do the same thing with chicken or a pork roast. I also make large batches of meatballs. I cook them on racks, on cookie sheets in the oven. I'll cook 2 racks and then I freeze them. And so then I have really quick meals. I can make a spaghetti sauce and throw in some meatballs, or I can make meatball subs with them, or, you know, I make a sauce out of grape jelly and chili sauce, and put that on the meatballs. So really just, you can make meatballs out of all kinds of meat: turkey, beef, pork, shrimp, whatever you want. Add in vegetables. So really thinking about when you're cooking, how can you use this for another meal? Or another thing you can do is you could cook 2 meals. You can cook one for tonight's dinner and put one in the freezer for a day down the road. You're spending the same amount of time, but you're getting 2 meals out of it. So that's a good thing. And meal planning. I don't really do this so much anymore because my kids are growing, but when my boys were young and they played hockey, life was extremely busy in our house. I worked full time, and I had a 30-day calendar. I had a winter calendar and a summer calendar and an in-between calendar. And I had 30 days planned out. I could easily look at the calendar a week ahead and know exactly what I needed to buy for groceries. You could sit down and create this calendar in advance, or you could write what you made for dinner every night for 30 days in a row, and you would have a 30-day calendar, and then you just repeat it the next month. If you're, you know, maybe you really like cooking and thinking about things to make for dinner, it's something that I always found to be kind of a chore. So I found it really helpful to have the 30-day calendar. And it's really easy to see what you need to purchase, and you can post it where everyone can see it so that the family can get started making the dinner when they know what it is we're going to be having for dinner, if you're lucky. So here's a picture of some vegetables that I'm cutting up, and there's, well, 2015. That was a while ago that I made this, but basically it just shows you an idea of how to make a 30-day calendar. You can get templates online, or you can just make a list, really. There's no rule. And then when it comes to cleaning, I like to use a clean-as-you-go strategy. So as I use something, I'm cleaning it. When I'm cooking, I never have dishes and that left on the counter when I'm finished cooking the meal, because as I'm using it, when I'm finished with it, it's going in the dishwasher right away. And unlike some people that when they cook, it's just a complete disaster in the kitchen when they're done, because there's dishes everywhere. It's like, if you use a clean-as-you-go strategy, then it's not a really big deal to clean up after dinner, because there's very few things to clean up. And wiping down the counters and the shower, sweeping the floor every day, spending just a few minutes to do those things so that it doesn't become overwhelming or built up. If you're really busy, you might not have time to do a really deep cleaning of your house for, you know, a week or 2 weeks. So if you're just spending a couple minutes every day doing that, it doesn't take a lot of time. And laundry. I like to do 1 or 2 loads every day. I mean, now I only really have my husband and I, so I don't have much laundry. But when I had a lot of laundry, I found it much easier to do 1 or 2 loads every day or every second day than saving it up for a week or 2 weeks and then having 10 or 12 loads of laundry to do. You spend your entire day doing laundry, whereas, you know, you can just come home from being out at work and throw a load of laundry in the wash and then put it in the dryer, hang it up to dry. And it's really, by the end of the week, you don't have piles and piles of laundry to do. So here's a picture of an example of a way to make it easy to clean. You can see in the one picture here, there's all this makeup and stuff all over the counter. Kind of painful to clean that. You've got to take all those pieces off and clean it. But over here, I have this nice little plastic container and everything's in the container. It's really easy to slide that container over and wipe down the counter and then slide it back. So I am really a fan of putting things on a tray or in a box that I can easily move to wipe things down. And then, you know, maybe once a month or every 6 weeks or so, I'll wipe off the things in the container, although they're usually being used on a regular basis, so they tend to get wiped off at the time. But every night I wipe down my bathroom counter after I've brushed my teeth and washed my face. It's really easy to just move it, wipe it down, put it back. So I never really ever have to go in my bathroom and clean my bathroom because it's always clean, which is really nice. Unlike my husband and my daughter's bathroom, but I'm working on them. So in summary, set goals, focus on the long-time perspective. What is your big goal? Where do you want to get to? Have clarity and focus about what it is that you want to get to. Prioritize. Eat the Frog. I don't know if you've heard of Eat the Frog. Eat the Frog is another Brian Tracy thing. There's a cute little video online that you can watch. But basically it says, do the hardest thing first and the rest of your day will be easy. So don't procrastinate on doing that thing that you really don't want to do. Just jump in and do it. And then it'll be done and then you can move on. And use the ABCDE method for prioritizing your tasks if you have a lot of them. Delegate, eliminate. Don't do things that you don't need to be doing that aren't benefiting you. So just scratch them off your list. I find it really helpful to focus on, instead of a to-do list, a to-be list. So when I have my list of to-do items, I look to see, now do these to-do items help me in my quest in my to-be list? So if they don't set me up for success in my to-be list, then I'm probably going to eliminate or delegate. Put non-productive time to good use. So instead of wasting time commuting or driving or whatever, see if you can do something productive while you're doing that. Plan in advance. So at the end of the day, plan out your day for tomorrow so you get up in the morning and you're off the ground running. Do double duty where possible. And be organized and disciplined. So, what do you think? Did you get any tips? Do you have tips of your own?
Yeah, lots of good ones. Lots of stuff I've seen before, and it's mostly common sense. So it's always good to go over it again, though.
Yeah, I find that there's nothing's new. It's just a reminder of hearing other people talk about things and remind you that, you know, and then some things work for some people and not for other people. So it's really helpful to find things that work for you, because not everything will be good for everyone, because not everybody is the same. We all have our own things. So I always like to hear other people's tips too of how they deal with things too, because sometimes it's just those everyday things that we do that we don't really think about or put our focus on. So
No, it's
Yeah.
good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this webinar was brought to you by the Inspired Influencers, which is a branch of Connect Now. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that. It's
I
just
know. Yeah.
recently they've just changed
Right.
that name to that. And my business is Kickstart Coaching and Wellness. So
Awesome.
I really help people connect to themselves. I'm really always start with who are you and what makes you up as a person, and what are the things that you need for your life. And I'm really really big on who are you. I find that a lot of people are living a life of someone they're not.
Yeah.
They're, living as a person that everyone else wanted them to be. So
Yeah.
anyways, that's what my business is.
Awesome.
You're a member of Connect Now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been with them for a few years. Yeah.
So I don't know, are you aware of the new price increases? And are you aware of the option to be part of the Inspired Influencers?
Yeah. 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 I get all the emails, so I kind of know what's
You
going
get
on.
the emails.
Yeah.
And yeah, so for anybody who's listening to the webinar, you'll already be a member of the Inspired Influencers, so I won't explain it. So so if you want to watch my webinar from last month, it should be on the website.
Okay.
And it was on getting organized by your learning style.
Nice.
And also then next month, we'll be talking about goal setting and, how to set goals for yourself, not just SMART goals, but how to set goals that you can actually see yourself completing. And probably as an accountability coach, you're well focused on goals and holding people accountable. Yeah. So
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So thanks for joining tonight, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Beth. Thank you.
You too. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.